Howdy, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of JT Real Talk Industry Leaders. Enjoy.
Brenden Rendo with the Homes in Orlando team at Next Home Neighborhood Realty. I've been in the real estate business for roughly about 30 years. Pretty much have done every aspect. Started out as a mortgage broker, ended up with my own office, walked away from that during the Great Recession. My broker the gentleman who's my broker now used to be my appraiser, and he actually became the manager of a Remax office and got me to switch over. So I switched over in 2012. Um, been enjoying it ever since. So
Great. So 30 years. That's some time there, man. Congratulations. I've been a licensed realtor since January of 21. So
okay.
I'm glad to have missed the Great Recession there in
Yeah,
2008.
see how flat my head is? That's
Yeah,
from banging it against the wall.
absolutely. I'm starting to get a sense of that, especially after the past couple of years since interest rates jumped and Austin being the number one overpriced city in the country. Now it's just
Yeah,
correcting.
you're pretty close, but Orlando's right out there. I don't know if you just saw the Zillow came out with a report. I think it was yesterday. 53% of homes have lost value in the past year, most since 2012. And Orlando was, I think, in the top five at 85% of the homes have lost value.
Wow.
And on average, it's about 8.2% from the peak.
Yep. Yep. That's pretty similar to Austin. So let's dive into that, because we're still working our way out of it. I'm not quite sure that we've hit the bottom yet, especially in these markets that were so overpriced. We just had a huge population um, uh, growth during 2020 and 2021. I'm curious how you really navigated this. I know for us, it's, obviously very difficult conversations. Can you elaborate a little bit on your approach when speaking to sellers about?
Um, Mine's just honesty. Quite honestly, honesty and knowing your numbers, knowing your data. One thing I do is I do a weekly podcast with one of my lenders, so I've got to research the numbers every week, make sure I'm on top of the numbers, checking out the numbers. But knowing your numbers helps tremendously because I think a lot of agents just are willy-nilly. They don't do the research beforehand. They want the listing so bad that they'll, if the seller says that they want to list it for 700,000 and it's worth 6, they're going to list it for 700,000. And then it just sits there and you look horrible. Um, not the way to do it. Not the way to do it. And it's a hard conversation with a lot of sellers these days is, hey, look, we're off peak. You're still doing well. It was amazing because the report was actually excellent. Uh, Sent the average years on people are in now is 8.2 in Orlando, and since they purchased their home, if they did it 8.2 years ago, they're still up 72%. So don't look at it as a 10% loss. You're still up 70%. So you got the way you approach them. If you know your numbers, is so much easier. Is like, look, you're still up this much money. You know, don't cry over the $20,000 in value that you've lost. You're still up here. You know, be happy. I mean, you're historically you've beaten the market, the average market of a 2%, 3% growth. So why complain? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. When the interest rates jumped in May of 22 and the the correction that started happening really was significant and obviously a hard pill to swallow for sellers kind of seeing that, realizing that they missed the boats. It's off into
Mhm.
the sunset. And so what I would do is we don't necessarily want to take the tax appraisal as the surefire number, but it's at least something that we can hang our hat on. So I would show them 2019, 2020, and 21. And then in 22, it jumps $100,000. And so I'm like, is that normal? And they're like, no. I'm like, so if that never had happened, we would be likely at this number. And so you're still up, that huge percentage. And so naturally it has to go somewhere. Curious, so being that you're a former mortgage broker turned realtor, really understanding the numbers that a buyer has to bring to the table as well. must really work in your favor. Do you also use kind of, hey, sellers, let's put ourselves in the buyer's shoes?
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, because it's all numbers. Bottom line, it's all numbers. And you kind of my conversation was, look, I have no emotional tie to this transaction. My job is to show you the numbers, help you understand the numbers, and actually be at comfort with, okay, I'm still doing really well.
Mhm.
I understand that. It's it is it for a lot of people it's a hard thing to swallow. But it's like, come on. You it comes back to just empathy that, look, guys, you're doing it. You're walking away with $300,000 in 6 years. You can't do that in the stock market. You've beaten the stock market. And it was a lot less risk, right? So be happy. It's just,
Yeah.
you got to change their whole perspective of loss to what did I gain? That's really what you got to do.
Absolutely. And, the numbers are one thing, but like you said, having that empathy is super necessary because we are in a people business and we're dealing with people that have feelings, emotions, sentimentality. So, future pacing, really laying out, hey, what does your next step, what do your next steps look like? What are you missing out on by delaying the price adjustments or pricing it correctly? You're on the market for, say, 90 to 100 days. Are you going to miss your grandchild's birthday? Are you, trying to get
Yeah.
somewhere for a job that you have a deadline to be at? Really setting that future for them in their mind really does help them to kind of grasp those numbers a little bit better.
Yeah, buyers have more opportunities than they've had in a lot of years. Our inventory's up 27%, I think it was. Hold on a second. I've got all my numbers
There you
from
go.
this morning.
Love it.
I think we're up 27% from last year. So there's a lot more choice out there. And buyers, here's the other thing we were discussing this morning is that if your house is not in peak condition, you're hurting yourself.
Hmm.
You are hurting yourself. I do a weekly update to a couple web pages I have, which I put out all the price reductions for the week. And Orange, in the past week, between Orange, Seminole, and Volusia County, which are the three main counties I cover, there were 1,500 price cuts.
Mm.
And when you look at them, you look at the numbers, the average days on market of all these price cuts are 100, 90,
Mm.
72. And it's like, it's at some point, it doesn't always become the price, it becomes your condition. I was showing some homes in Windermere that are priced between $600,000 and $750,000, and nothing's been updated since they bought the homes were built in 2004, 2007, 2010, and they haven't painted the walls, they haven't changed out the builder grade cabinets. They may have done some flooring, but it was done extremely poor. They've got original roofs, which here in Florida, you're dead because you can't have a roof over 15 years old. In Florida, won't get insured anymore. And
Mm.
you look at this and it's like, why doesn't the agent tell you something? Tell you this? Like, look, you're, I actually one agent kind of like he 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 was listing his own house, and I'm like, you've got a roof that's original. You're 22 years old. You got to replace it. You know,
Hmm.
replace it. It's going to make it more desirable because
You as an
you know,
agent.
yeah, you're an agent. You know this. You know you're going to have to replace it. Why not just go ahead and do it now? There's enough roofers out there that are slower than heck that will give you 0% financing for a year. Do it, and guess what? You now become more attractive because now you've put that value back in.
Hmm.
Because all people think of is, oh, am I going to have to negotiate for this roof? No, you're not. Because we're not going to be able to we're not going to be able to get insurance. No one else is going to be able to get insurance. So the seller's got himself stuck. Do all your homework up front.
Yeah.
A good lawyer, a good lawyer always knows the answer to the question he's asking.
Hmm.
We should be the same way. We
Sure.
should we should have all the questions answered up front. I've got a client, we're probably going to put an offer in on a property this week. So I'm going to call Duke Energy and ask them what the 12-month average is on the electric bill.
Yeah.
I don't know very many other agents who do that. It's a simple thing. It's a 2-minute phone call and they'll tell you, oh, on average, it averages this.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Now we know. Now they know roughly what they have to budget for their electrical expenses now.
Yeah, and that's such an important thing to ask or bring to the table for agents on both sides, because again, back to what a buyer is going to have to spend each month with whatever the interest rates are or the insurance premiums, whatever those are, it really does come down to the numbers and that bottom line. And so for a seller to be able to start chipping away at that buyer's bottom line, just like you said, you're going to stand out. You're going to have more ability to get people through the door and get somewhere close to the number that you may be
Yeah.
looking for.
What you don't want is you don't want the buyer walking in and going, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. You don't want that. And that's what they do. In their mind, they're adding things up. Well, if I want to change this, I got to do this. If I want to change this, I got to do this. Oh, this is kind of beat up. I'm going to have to replace that. I need to do this. And every cha-ching is just a step away from wanting your house and step away from getting the value that you want for your house.
Mhm.
So I've told my clients now, my buyers, if we don't like the number, we're just walking away. We are going to walk away because I almost guarantee you that within a week to 2 weeks, we're going to get a phone call back. Hey, are they still interested? We're about to do a price cut.
That's
Okay.
funny. I just had the same thing happen with one of my listings. We got an offer a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and it was about K below what we were listed at. We came back with a bit of a counter. Buyers just ghosted. Buyer agent ghosted. I finally got a hold of him. He was like, "No, we're still looking. Thanks though." Like, okay, great. Then finally, we do a price adjustment back to where that offer was originally, right? And that buyer agent calls 2 days later. Hey, notice you guys reduced. Interested in revisiting that offer now? I'm like,
Yeah, there's no fear. There's no fear on my buyer's side.
right.
You know, because we keep looking at it and they've got their list of homes that they favorited. I was going through one for a client and we're getting ready to pick out houses and everything's still available. Everything, 3 years ago, you're like, you had to check every couple hours, see if the house is still available. Now it's like, yeah, I'll check next week. If it's still available,
Right.
great. Let's see if they drop their price. Totally different market. Totally
Absolutely.
different market.
Absolutely. Well, Brennan, let's pivot a little bit. Would love to hear more about you and your business, kind of how your day to day goes, and then maybe where you're hoping to grow from here 6 to 12 months from now. What's your plans looking like?
I'm a solo agent. I don't have a team. Don't want one. I had a mortgage company. I had 20 plus people working for me. I've tried a couple times to build teams, but I just don't find anyone who likes to work anymore. So I do about 30 homes a year. And quite honestly, I'm comfortable at that now. I just try and find my thing is keeping up to date, keeping the market up to date. I love doing my podcast on a weekly basis. I love keeping my webpage up to date, and it produces more than enough leads for me. I'm actually looking to farm out some leads to a couple agents next year. And maybe work off referrals that way. But as far as like, wanting to have, do 100 homes a year or something like that, no desire anymore.
Mm.
I've got twin 17-year-olds at home still, and I want to be able to enjoy some time,
Sure.
because the marketing that I do is very intensive, and I build a lot of it out myself. So, um, I enjoy what I do. I really do. So, I continuing to keep in contact with my clients, my past clients. I've got a new listing coming up next week. Client who I sold a house to 8 years ago,
Mm.
stayed in touch, and, he called me up, Brendan, I'm ready to go home to Seattle. I can, okay, Eric, I
Right.
understand. And, so I met with him yesterday. We're going to get the house. I mean, this is, he's a great example of exactly what you do as a seller. His house is spotless.
Mm.
Everything's been kept up to date. A little tweak here, maybe a little tweak there. We got to fix a thing on the sprinkler system, but otherwise, it's ready to go, and it will go. The average in that area is about 90 days. I'd be surprised if his lasts 30. Really would, because this is a house that people can walk in, put their stuff down, and not have to worry about anything. And that's what everybody wants now.
Yeah, turnkey, absolutely. So you're comfortable where you're at, doing your about 30 deals a year. As far as, your kids are 17, are they going to be graduating next year? Then are you
Yep.
hoping that
Yep.
maybe, yeah? And then
Yep.
are you going to want to grow from there, or just kind of maintain where you're at? Or
No,
is there any?
I'm 59 years old. I'm happy. My one son wants to learn the business, so I'm like, okay, I'll teach you the business. But you're going to bust your butt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a hustle.
That's not a pushover.
Yeah. Good, man. You can't be. And like you said before, hiring people or people in general right now, yeah, they just seem like they don't want to work. They don't have any work ethic or character or
Mm-hmm.
drive to put in the effort and the hustle. And our industry is a hustle. You're not just sitting at a desk and typing away until 5 p.m. and getting a check or a salary.
Yep.
No, you got to go
Yep.
find it in order to eat. So,
Yes. Very, very true.
so if your son's looking to get into it, has he mentioned anything about AI or technologies or,
Yeah, I'm actually trying to teach him, get him more involved in the AI
Mhm.
and tech. I have found that the AI has really helped me productivity wise, more on the build out of my website, than anything else. I can change things. I wanted to redo, I built out zip code areas, things like that. I wanted to rebuild and reformat, modernize the whole look. And if I had done it before AI, you're talking 6 months worth of work, nights and weekends. I did it in a weekend with
Nice.
Claude. Once I got the format, it's like, okay, save the format, put the new information in. I was like, yes.
Yeah. Nice.
It was awesome. It was great. Took a lot of pressure off.
Yeah, it absolutely does. A lot of businesses in general, small businesses, agents, brokers are leaning into automating their services, whatever that looks like for them, CRM, lead management, voice receptionist, things like that.
Mhm.
And as for me as a real estate agent, it's also something I'm looking into. I'm using it quite a bit to craft my social media content and things like that, helping produce scripts. And then obviously the editing is just, seamless with AI edits. So, well, Brenden, I appreciate you, sir. Thank you for being here.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, no problem.
you have any last tips, words of wisdom for the audience out there?
Um, Take your time. If you're looking, take your time as a buyer. You've got plenty of opportunity there. Sellers, um, listen to li- find a good agent. You find that most people only interview one agent. You know what I mean? Interview two or three. Find, and don't always look at just the big guys. Because like myself, I don't want to work for one of the big guys. I don't want to work for an EXP. I don't want to work for a Compass. I'm an independent person. I just never found it to be that big of a benefit. You know what I mean? So reach out to some of the independent guys who aren't on these big teams. Because you may find I'd rather handle fewer transactions, but give you more service overall. Because that's referrals is a lifeblood. Just like my client coming back after 8 years. I love that. You know, I've probably 60-70% of my business, is past clients and referrals. And it takes it, you earn that, you know, and you want someone who wants to look at that as a long-term relationship, not just, okay, let me get the transaction done. I got to eat this month. You know, let me do this, as quick as I can. And, oh, well, whatever works. So.
Absolutely.
Right.
Fantastic, man. Well, hey, again, thank you so much for being here, Brendan. I really
Oh,
appreciate
you're
it.
welcome. Thank you
Uh,
for inviting me. I
yeah,
always enjoy the chance to chat.
yeah, and especially talk about this market and to help buyers and sellers out there be a little bit more informed. And I think this conversation really is gonna do that for them. So uh,
Wonderful.
thank you again, sir. The best of luck to you.
You as well.
Feel free to stay in touch. I hope to be able to do the same with you. Maybe if I'm ever in Florida, I'll give you shouts.
Oh, please feel free. Please
Yeah.
feel free.
All right.
Always enjoy sitting down.
Yes, sir.
So,
Oh, yeah, that sounds great. All right. Well, take care, Brendan. Have a great rest of your day. Happy holidays, and we'll chat soon.
you as well. Take care. Bye bye.